USC and UCLA meet in a crosstown showdown. Oregon and Utah have a big game out of the Pac-12. The NFL slate is full this week, and we have a big matchup in college basketball tonight. And we have a huge slew of games in college basketball. I'm going to talk about all of them tonight here on this Friday. And for my closing thoughts, I've got a few things I want to say this week about the past week, and I got a little bone to pick with the NFL. And we will start the show today right after this. And a good Friday to all of you watching out there in YouTube land. It is now time for the Scott Manning Friday YouTube Sports Machine. We have a lot to talk about today here on the Sports Machine. We're just going to jump right into it. Number 7 USC faces number 16 UCLA. I'm going to tell you something. The defense on both sides, on both teams, has been in short supply here lately. Both teams have two of the top 3 offenses in all of the Pac-12, for crying out loud. They have combined for a total of 81.9 points per game and 1,003.5 yards offense for the season. That's combined. Fox Sports analyst Joe Klatt's already said, I look for a high-scoring shootout. He's going to be out in L.A. with his buddy Gus Johnson this weekend. Caleb Williams has been red hot. 3,010 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a completion percentage of 63.7%. Not a bad deal for him this season. And Jordan Addison is going to have to step up. 40 catches, 587 yards, 7 touchdowns. Keep in mind, USC is going to be minus one huge weapon. Travis Dye. He suffered an ankle injury last weekend, and that was a major setback for Southern Cal. But as for UCLA, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 2,385 yards passing this season, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And he's got a completion percentage of 72.6%. This guy's been red hot. But of course, UCLA's got their run weapon. Zach Charbonnet, 152 rushes this season for 1,145 yards and 13 touchdowns. This game has huge implications in the Pac-12. It's very simple for USC. You win, you're in the Pac-12 championship game on December 2nd. However, UCLA, don't count them out either. Here's what UCLA needs to do. First, they got to beat USC. Then, if UCLA beats Southern Cal, they still have to beat the Cal Golden Bears. And if that happens, UCLA will be playing for the Pac-12 championship. There's still a lot at stake this weekend. A lot. And I'm going to tell you this. This is a huge weekend. The Crosstown Showdown is going to live up to the hype on Saturday. I'll say it one more time. If USC wins, they're in the Pac-12 championship, plain and simple. If UCLA wins, if they beat USC, they have to beat Cal, then they'll be in. It's that simple. Crosstown Showdown on Saturday. Buckle your seatbelts, fans. The city of Los Angeles is going to be the place to be. And the game is at the Rose Bowl. How much fun is that going to be? And just think, we're getting USC and UCLA in the Big Ten here in about a year or so. Bottom line. All right. Let's move on to other things. Number 10, Utah versus number 12, Oregon. This is a big one, too. We could be talking. Now, unfortunately, both teams are out of the national title race. Unfortunately. However, there's still a Pac-12 championship berth at stake. Both teams are 8-2, but here's the kicker for Utah. Utah's 2 losses have come by a combined 13 points this season. Oregon's Bo Nix has been super. 2,775 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's got a QBR rating of 89.1. Very impressive. But there's a little downside. This is the Oregon defense. They have given up an average of 34 points per game to ranked opponents this season. That's the downside. However, Utah does have an X factor. His name is tight end Dalton Kincaid. 50 receptions this season, 649 yards passing, 7 touchdowns. Yeah, there is a little setback for him here too. He's still not at 100%, but he is further ahead than he was last Monday. That was Utah coach Kyle Whittingham. Kincaid has been nursing a shoulder injury, but he has still managed to play through it, and he's still managed to average 13 yards per catch this season. Utah coach Kyle Whittingham has given his praises to Bo Nix. He said he's a phenomenal quarterback. And Oregon coach Dan Lanning has already said, we're ready for him, we're going to play hard, and we're ready to go at it. And we'll see what happens on Saturday. This is a huge game. 2 huge games in the Pac-12 with a lot at stake. May the best teams win, and that's all I can say at this moment right now. If Oregon can get a big win under their belts, there's a lot at stake. The winner of this game, they may be in the Pac-12 title game on December 2nd. And that's all there is to it. Okay, let's move on to the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys play the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-1. It is remarkable that the Vikings are 8-1 on the season, and they've had to do it the hard way. Last Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, going into the fourth quarter, they were down 27-10. But Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson led a charge, along with Dalvin Cook, from Florida State, and they managed to come out of Buffalo with a victory. The victory was so popular, and this is a true story. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has asked for the gloves and the sleeve that Justin Jefferson wore in that ball game. True story. Last Sunday, we watched the Vikings come out of nowhere and get a comeback victory over the Buffalo Bills. This week, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys lost to the Green Bay Packers last Sunday night at Lambeau. Last night, the Packers lost to the Tennessee Titans. I apologize for not writing that information down, but I'm not going to worry about it. But the Cowboys are 6-3 on the season. CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, they were pretty good last Sunday night. CeeDee Lamb was the only other player with at least 10 catches and 150 yards receiving and a touchdown. That's how big it was last weekend. He was only one of 2 players. Who was the other one? You guessed it, Justin Jefferson from LSU. Excuse Chris Berman, but I like to do that once in a while. Can the Minnesota Vikings go 9-1? I'll tell you what. The Vikings, I don't know how they've been doing it, but they're 8-1. Excuse me. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-1. They've had to do it the hard way. You saw it last Sunday. Then they struggled against the Washington Commanders the week before that. But last Sunday, the Vikings got their signature win. You know how big it would be if they got another signature win against the Dallas Cowboys? That would be something. I'm going to be having the NFL Network on because, unfortunately, where I live, I'm stuck with the Bengals and the Steelers. I'll have to watch that game, but I'll be turning on the NFL Network to watch the other one if I can all make it possible. I'll put it that way. We're in for one whale of a weekend, everybody. That's all there is to it. Great game, Dallas, Minnesota. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to the Sunday night game. Let's talk about that. The Kansas City Chiefs will face the LA Chargers this coming Sunday night. Now, this is a big game. However, both teams are injury plagued. Patrick Mahomes will be minus Mecole Hardman with an abdominal injury that's been nagging him. And it will be likely that Mahomes will also be missing Juju Smith-Schuster because he's still in concussion protocol after the helmet-to-helmet hit he took last Sunday. And I'll tell you what, Kansas City don't feel bad. The Chargers know how you feel. LA Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert will not have Keenan Allen because he's been suffering a hamstring injury. He's only played 2 games this season. And also, too, Herbert will be minus Mike Williams. He has a high right ankle sprain. And both of them, as it stands right now, they are both questionable going into Sunday night. That's where it stands right now. That's the latest information that I have. So, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, they may have to find backup receivers. Can the backup step up? That's the question. Or will it be a track meet? That's the $64,000 question going into the game on Sunday night. This is a game where we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm telling you, this is a big game. It's a Sunday night in prime time. And going into a game like this, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm telling you, if both teams are banged up going into this game, it's going to be a long night for somebody. Will it be Mahomes or will it be Herbert that has the loss at the end? We'll have to wait and see on that one. And that's the truth of the matter. Okay. Let's move on to my bread and butter. Can you believe it, babies? College basketball is here. It's actually we're 10 days into the season, but I'm going to tell you something. We have 3 huge top 25 matchups. One of them is a 2 versus 4, and I'm going to get to that here in a few minutes. But tonight, I got a big one for you. Number 5, Baylor. Number 16, Virginia. You know how much fun this is going to be tonight? I'm looking forward to it. Senior guard, Armand Franklin. So far in this young season, he's been doing pretty good. He's been averaging 14.5 points per game, and this guy's been shooting 53% from the field. Look out for him tonight. He's a senior guard, and he's one of the best guards as it stands right now. Look out for him. Senior forward Jaden Garden. He's the number 2 on the team. Just to let you know, he's got some help. He leads the team in rebounds with seven rebounds per game. So far, he's only averaged 6 points per game. Last year, he was averaging 15.3 points per game. Start making shots, man, and you'll get those numbers back up. I guarantee you. But as for Baylor, get ready for a fight. Get ready for a battle. Senior guard Adam Flagler. He's back again for his senior season. So far, he's been averaging 17.3 points per game. He's been shooting 60% from the field. This is a huge game going into tonight. Buckle your seatbelts, folks. This guy's a great player. He knows how to shoot the rock. And junior forward Caleb Launer. He leads the team in rebounding with 6.3 rebounds per game. He's been shooting 45% from the field, but he's only been averaging 5.3 points per game. This guy's a junior. Caleb Launer he's a junior forward. Give him a chance, and he can really do some damage tonight. This is a game tonight at 7:30 on ESPN2. and I'm going to say this: advantage Baylor. Here's why. You got Armin Franklin he's been averaging 14.5 points per game. And Baylor's been shooting 51.3% from the field. And as a team, Baylor's been averaging 42.3 rebounds per game so far in this young season. Baylor, respectable numbers. 49.5% shooting from the field. They've only been averaging 36 rebounds per game. This is a 7:30 game tonight on the Deuce on ESPN2. It's going to be fun to watch tonight. And we're going to have a blast. College basketball is back. I know it's been back for 10 days. But I'm saying it tonight. I'm saying it today because it's the first chance I've actually had to talk to you about talking about college basketball. It's going to be great tonight. Buckle your seatbelts, fans. This is a game tonight on ESPN2. And get ready. Now, let's talk about the Sunday night battle at 7:30 on ESPN. Now, this game is on Sunday night. Number 4 Kentucky versus number 2 Gonzaga. I had forgotten about what happened to Gonzaga the other night when they got embarrassed by the Texas Longhorns. 20 turnovers, and Texas got 27 points out of it. Gonzaga had 20 turnovers against the Longhorns, and they were ranked 11. If Gonzaga played like they did against Texas, Kentucky's going to have a field day. Let's think about this for a second. Antonio Reeves, 15 points per game. He's been shooting 43.8% from the field. Last year, he was averaging almost 20 points per game. And he's a senior guard. Look out for him. Then you got senior forward Jacob Toppin. He may only be averaging 11 points per game, but he leads the team in rebounds with 7.7 rebounds per game. As for Gonzaga, you got senior forward Drew Time. He's averaging 20.7 points per game. And he leads the team in rebounding with 8 rebounds per game, and he's shooting 60.5% from the field. Last year, Time only averaged 18.4 points per game. He's already above his average from last year. Then you got senior forward Anton Weston. He's leading the team in assists with 2.7 assists per game, but he's shooting 57.1% from the field for the season already. And if you want quick stats, I got them for you. Advantage Kentucky. Kentucky's shooting 46.1% from the field, and they've almost been averaging like a cool 32.3 rebounds per game. But Gonzaga, they're only shooting 42% so far, and they're averaging 38.7 rebounds per game. Advantage Kentucky, because you got to remember, Gonzaga's coming off of a bad loss. And it was a bad one to Texas. On the road. And that court storming that the Longhorn fans did, they earned every bit of that court storming. To upset Gonzaga and beat them at their own game gets love in my book. And that's all there is to it. Now, this is a game on Sunday night on ESPN. But I have another one for you, another top 25 matchup. Actually, this is all three of the games I mentioned, they're all top 20. The last one I'm going to talk about is tonight on ESPNU. Number 8 UCLA versus number 19 Illinois. Last year, the Illini were 13-3 at home last season with a 23-10 record overall. Last year, they averaged 74.4 points per game. And it only allowed opponents to score 67.2 points per game last season. However, that was last year. What about this year? Senior guard Terrence Shannon Jr. He's already off to a phenomenal start. He's been averaging 22.7 points per game. Last year, he only averaged 10.4 points per game. He didn't see much playing time 1 year ago. And he's shooting 52.9% from the field. Sophomore forward, Dane Dianja. If I mispronounced your name, sir, I apologize. He's only a sophomore forward. 17.3 points per game and 9.7 rebounds per game. Give this guy some love. He's been shooting 82.8% from the field this season. Very impressive. And as for UCLA last year, they were 15-5 in the Pac-12, and they were 8-4 on the road last season. Last season, UCLA averaged 75.4 points per game and only allowed opponents to score an average of 64.5 points per game. That was 1 year ago. What about this year? Junior guard Jaden Clark. This guy's really going to have to really stepped up his game. 17.3 points per game. He's been averaging 8 rebounds per game, and he's been shooting 66.7% from the field so far. Last season, he only averaged 6.7 points per game. That's big. And then you got senior guard Tiger Campbell. 14.3 points per game, and he leads the team in assists with 4.3 assists per game. Last season, he only averaged 11.9 points per game. So if you're looking for a winner tonight, I'm going to call it a toss-up. Here's why. Illinois, they've been shooting 51.1% from the field this season. UCLA, 51.8%. But if you're looking for a little bit of a differential in the rebound department, advantage Illinois. 43.7 rebounds per game to UCLA's 37.3 rebounds per game. This is a top 20 matchup tonight on ESPNU. As in university, just to give you an idea. I may be watching this game tonight. I may enjoy this game more than I might the NBA. Because personally myself, and this is just me, when it comes to football and basketball, I'm more of a college guy. Because that's where all the money is, and that's where all the action is. The action's in college basketball. Bar none, bottom line. 3 huge games this weekend, and I'm going to tell you something before I move on. Heads up. Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock on ABC. And in women's college basketball, we got number one South Carolina, number 2 Stanford, in a 1 versus 2 this early in the season. I may just say forget the NFL, or at least forget about the Browns game, if you get what I mean. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. Let me catch my breath here. Excuse me. 3 big matchups in college basketball in the men's department, but in the women's department, that's where your main event's going to be. And I apologize for not getting that information, but it was not ready by the time I was ready to go on the air here this morning. Bottom line is this. There's a lot at stake in the men's and women's college basketball this week. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for my closing thoughts. As all of you know by now, the Cleveland Browns-Buffalo Bills game has been moved to Ford Field in Detroit. This weekend, the city of Buffalo is expecting 4 to 6 feet of snow. They say it's going to be a massive snowstorm. Back in the old days, Pete Rozelle, the late Pete Rozelle, who was commissioner of the NFL, who I had a lot of respect for, would have said, "Shut up and play." The game of football to me, and excuse me for being old-fashioned, but the game of football was meant to be played out in the elements. Now, I understand that roads are going to be closed, and getting around Buffalo is going to be nearly impossible. But the Bills will be playing 2 games at Ford Field within a span of a few days. The Bills face the Browns at Ford Field in Detroit on Sunday. Then they got a short week on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day. The Bills get to play the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. That's going to be something to think about. So here's the deal. When you think about what's going to happen this week for the Bills, this upcoming week's going to be crazy. But I understand what the NFL is trying to do. The city of Buffalo, it's going to be impossible to get around. It's going to be hard to get around along Lake Erie, because that's where Buffalo is. They're right off the lake, just like Cleveland. Only they're further up. So, do I like the move? No. I'm old-fashioned, but I understand where the city of Buffalo is coming from and where the NFL is coming from. So how many people will show up at Ford Field on Sunday to watch the Bills play the Browns? That's the $64,000 question. We'll wait and see what happens. Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me here on this Friday. I just want to let you guys know, due to the Thanksgiving holiday coming up next week, there will be no show on Friday, and there will probably be no show on Sunday. I will let you guys know what I'm going to do about the following Sunday. I'll discuss that on the Sunday night YouTube Sports Machine, and I will make it a decision. But there will be no show on Friday due to Thanksgiving. So I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in this weekend. You guys have a great one. Thank you so much for being with me. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving next week. I'm going to be taking a break and enjoying time with my family. You guys have a great week. I will see you Sunday night on the Scott Manning YouTube Sunday Night Sports Machine for the weekend wrap-up and a look ahead to the week. Thank you guys so much for being with me. No show next Friday due to the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. You guys have a great night. Have a great day. Thank you so much for being with me. And God bless. Goodbye, everybody, and I thank you.